Have you ever wondered why some things in your life aren't growing, even though you've been faithful and putting in the effort? Have you ever felt like progress is delayed, not because you haven't done enough, but because too much is still attached? Have you ever sensed that the breakthrough you're praying for might be hidden in something God is asking you to release? Have you ever considered that less might actually be the pathway into more? Hey, Dear Tyla, it's really great to have you again. Second episode of the year, and I'm really excited to have you guys come back. And I really do hope that you're enjoying the new format of Dear Tyla and everything. And I hope you're good. I hope the year is treating you well. Doing all that you need to do. I hope things are coming into play. And I hope your rebranding is coming up well. I'm really excited about today's episode because it was part of the lessons that I learned during my own time of retreat. So today, I want us to talk about something that doesn't sound beautiful at first. It's called pruning. The word itself, it can be particularly traumatizing. And I think it's because of the way a lot of people have expressed it, And it's because, pruning feels like loss. It feels like reduction. It feels like something is being taken away from you. The whole concept of pruning in itself is one that seems to reduce, an individual, reduce a person. Many times, the whole concept of pruning too sometimes looks like a punishment. Because at some point, whatever was being pruned or whatever is being pruned has a testimony of growth. It has a testimony of growth. So take for instance, you love to keep your hair. I'm the kind of guy that likes to keep his hair. I didn't grow up that way. I always used to, love low cut and everything. So if you check my old pictures, which one day I'm going to hide, you'd see me with low cut and everything. In my life, I'd have never ever thought that I would ever keep hair. And now, keeping hair and all. And whenever I have to go to the salon for a haircut, sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, I have to cut, this hair again. And it can be, particularly, traumatizing. It just feels like something is taken away. You have that testimony of growth, and then all of a sudden it's like you're brought back to another level, and it can be a very, very painful experience, But one thing that we need to understand is that pruning is not destruction, it's intention. Pruning is not destruction, it's intention. Pruning is a very deliberate thing that happens. It's a very, very deliberate and particular thing that happens because nobody is pruned by mistake, right? Nobody is pruned by mistake. When you think about pruning, you think about the gardener, pruning his flowers, pruning his trees, pruning his plants and all of that, right? The gardener wakes up or goes to the field that day knowing that some branches are going to be cut off. So it's not destruction, there's an intention, there is intent behind that action, right? Pruning is intention. Now the anchor scripture for us today is found in John chapter 15 verse 2. And I'm very, very glad that Jesus is the one that said it. It says, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, right? So that it can bear more fruit. And this is just a proof that nothing is cut accidentally. Nothing is ever cut accidentally. You can see that the intention of the Father is very clearly stated in this verse. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, right? So in the preceding verse, this one, it says that I am the vine, you are the branches, and my Father is the wine dresser. Like my Father is the gardener, right? So he says every branch that bears fruit, every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. So the intention of God in pruning you, the intention of God in pruning us is that we actually bear more fruit. So nothing is cut accidentally. Nothing is removed without purpose. Sometimes what we call an ending is actually preparation. Sometimes what we call an ending is actually preparation. Do you know, before we even go ahead, and I hope I don't clash up with something eventually, but you can see that the pruning happened because fruit was being produced. The particular branch was a fruitful branch. That it's very clear that your fruitfulness is the reason why you are being pruned. That certain things are being cut off, certain things are being reduced. Because in every pruning segment, in every pruning section, where when you cut off certain parts, you give room for new life. But let's go ahead. In nature, growth doesn't happen because everything is allowed to grow freely. Right? Growth doesn't happen because everything is allowed to grow freely. And it's very, very important for us to be able to define what growth is. Right? What growth is. If you're growing around weeds, you don't necessarily look at it as proper growth to you. You get? So it's very important for you to define what growth is. But like I said, in nature, growth doesn't happen because everything is allowed to grow freely. A gardener understands this. If everything grows unchecked, nothing grows well. If everything grows unchecked, nothing grows well. So I remember years ago in secondary school, I schooled in Bethany Christian Academy, that's in Plateau State, Jos. And we used to do agric. And there was a particular practical in agric that we had where we had to go and farm, maize and corn. Now, a lot of people used to go back, and tend to their corn field. But somehow I just neglected mine until it was almost time for marking. And so I ran to, my portion. And some ears of corn, had started growing. But the weeds were competing with it. And so it was affecting the health of my own corn. I did a whole lot of, stuff here and there. In Africa or Nigeria, we say basbos. I just uprooted certain weeds, turned, the soil over. It was a very, very messy work. And at the end of the day, my own corn did not produce well compared to other people that tended their own, right? So, a gardener understands if everything grows unchecked, nothing grows well. If everything grows unchecked, nothing grows well. And that's the truth. So the gardener cuts, not because the branch is dead, but because it's alive. Now, a lot of people think pruning is taking off, completely the dead branch. Nah, not at all. So many people have that mindset that, when God is pruning you, He's cutting you off totally. He's cutting off a particular part so that new life can come out of it, and then it will now be able to produce even more fruit. Like I use the concept of having a haircut, right? There's this myth, I believe, people believe and all that. The more you cut your hair, the faster it grows. Maybe it works for me. For some other people, it's a terrible thing to do. Like if God has helped your hair to grow to a particular range, and you cut it, you just know that you've done the worst. But for someone like me, I thank God for the kind of hair that I have. I know that I'm boasting of it, but yes, it's on my head. So, but I thank God for the kind of hair that I have. So I cut it now, and then within a few days, it's already, growing and becoming a lot fuller, right? So the concept is not that you are totally cut off. It's a portion so that new life can come. So the gardener cuts not because the branch is dead, but because it's alive. The pruning, like I said, that in John chapter 15 verse 2, it says that the branch that bears fruit is the one that he prunes. So your pruning process is proof that you are living and that you are active. Very, very powerful. Healthy branches are pruned so that they can bear more fruit. And this is where the lesson begins for us. Like I said, we've been talking about my whole rebranding process and how I want to inspire us to be able to also rebrand in our own selves, right? Not just the things that we do, but then in our personal space, right? Internally, that we are rebranding and we're becoming more redefined, right? Because the truth is that rebranding kind of like works in the same way, right? Works in the same way. God doesn't prune dead things, he prunes fruitful ones. And so when you get to that point of dissatisfaction, it's because you have produced fruit for that level, and your person is desiring more. Your person is desiring more, right? And so there are certain things that need to be cut off. So rebranding is not necessarily addition, right? It's reduction many times. And I'll get to it. So when I'm using the word rebranding, just think about it as an internal transformation, right? But remember, because we're using it based on the context of what's been happening, and then, since it's a new year and the first month of the year, it's very, very nice for us to put a lot of things into perspective so that our journey into the year is very, very smooth and we can have some level of clarity, we can have some level of direction, right? When we think of rebranding, starting again, or entering a new season, we usually ask, what should I add? What should I change? What should I introduce? There are a lot of questions that we ask. And these are personal questions that I too had to ask myself, at certain times. And that's what led me into the journey, right? And I believe that after the last episode, it was also able to lead you into that journey too, right? So those are some of the questions, right? What should I add? What should I change? What should I introduce? But most growth doesn't begin with addition. It begins with discernment, right? So the Bible reminds us in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. Not everything that is allowed is beneficial. Not everything that is good is God's idea for this season, because excess doesn't just slow growth, it competes with it. Sometimes less is what opens the door for more. These are very, very powerful truths, very, very powerful statements. Not everything is allowed. So when I started realizing that, remember in the previous episode where I shared about the fact that I realized that Dear Tyla was doing almost everything. I was talking about everything. There wasn't any clear-cut, message. And there was just so much. And I had to discern that when I started Dear Tyla, June 29th, 2020, what was the intention behind it? Right? What was I, driven to do? What was my purpose? What was my desire and everything? So I had to be very, very keen on it and be like, nah, Benga, you've got to, have a very, very clear mindset towards it. Work on it and do something, clear. So, not everything that's allowed is beneficial. I can talk about all that I need to talk about. I can say all that I need to say. And it's my space, it's my opinion, right? But then it doesn't make it purposeful. And just because it's good, it doesn't mean it's God's idea for the season. Okay? Just because you see other people doing it, right? Just because we see other people doing certain things, it doesn't mean that that's the way we should go also. What is the specific direction that God is leading you into for a certain season? Now, a statement that I really just want to buttress says, because excess doesn't just slow growth, it competes with it. It competes with it. So imagine if you are an actor, you're a singer, you're a chef, you are a teacher, you're a pastor, you're a musical director, you got your 9 to 5, you're a family person, you are an athlete, you serve in the military, all of these things. Now imagine all of these things which are in their own selves are very, very noble things, extremely noble things, right? And probably you have the ability to excel in each and every one of them. The problem is that each of them will be competing for a high level in your life. And so the energy that you'd have used, on a particular task or in a particular field, or maybe just a group of fields, right? You're now sharing it amongst other things. And growth usually happens with time. The investment of time that you put into a particular thing is a big indication as to how far you'll be able to grow into it. So you find out that you're not just slowing down the growth of other things. It's actually a competition, and then you're fighting. Those things will be fighting for a position in your life, and it brings a level of weariness. So sometimes less is what opens the door for more. When you cut off a lot of these things, you cut off these excesses, what you do is that you give yourself room on the other things that you are now paying attention to grow more. Very, very important. Anytime you start something new or rebirth something old, pruning becomes necessary. Whenever you're birthing something new, or whenever you're starting something new, rather, or rebirthing something old, pruning becomes necessary. Like I said, I just became a new uncle. Right, legit uncle. My younger brother's wife put to bed, right, and we've got our little nephew, aka Wiggles. And when I was talking to him, before she put to bed, he was like, he's just thinking about all the changes that are going to happen, just things are going to be a little bit more different. Back then, he could think about just himself. Then he got married and had to start thinking about he and his wife. Now, there's a little dude that is literally depending on them for everything. So he's now thinking about it in a different context, in a different light. So he was talking about all the changes, things that he needs to stop doing, things that he needs to, let go of, so that he can give attention to his son and everything. So anytime you start something new or rebirth something old, pruning becomes necessary. Not everything can come with you, Tyla. Not everything can come with you. Not every idea, not every voice, not every habit, not every structure. Some things need to go. They just need to go. No matter how dear you hold them, some things need to go. And there's a scripture reference to this. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 says, "Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Notice it says weights, not just sins. This isn't about being harsh. It's about being honest with you. That there are certain things that you've held so dear to your heart, right? Or there are certain things that we have held so dear to our hearts, Tyla, that have really become the reasons why we'll not be able to move forward. So, what are the things that we need to prune? Because I think that's where the confusion lies. What should I let go of? What should I cut off? What should I allow God to take away from me? What should I release? How do I distinguish between the things that should stay in my life and the things that should go? You prune what dilutes your vision or dilutes the vision. Anything that waters down the vision of your life, the plan that you set, the goal that you set, anything that dilutes it, whether reduces its effect or makes it or trivializes it, you prune it off. you prune it off. Painful, anything, you prune what drains the energy. You prune what drains your energy. Anything that kills your motivation, anything that kills your passion, anything that kills your drive. You prune what distracts the focus. Anything that distracts the focus, you prune. No. As I'm saying this right now, there's a lot that I'm just thinking about. And it's difficult because many of the things in our lives are things that have created a sense of comfort in us, a sense of comfort. But we really need to get out of that comfort zone, because that comfort zone is what is keeping us away from really, doing what we should do. Now, this is about 5 a.m. in the morning for me as I'm recording this. So think about the energy, the time. I could have been sleeping, extra hours of rest. I could have been on the internet browsing and doing all of that. But at that moment in time, it's distracting the focus. And so I have to let go of it and push and give myself to it. You prune what no longer aligns with the season. Because if everything stays, clarity never comes. Anything that does not align with the season, you prune it. There is a season of your life that you are in, Tyla. There's a season of your life that you're in. And it's very, very important that you find out this attitude, this character, this thing that I'm involved in. Does it help me grow in this season? Is it beneficial to the season that I'm in? If it's not, then you really just have to let it go. Like I said, because if everything stays, clarity never comes. Clarity never comes. So I've worked with a lot of sound people, and one of the things that they love to do is that they love to arrange their cables before they start connecting. So everything is put in a particular place, and that's what clarity does. Because when the wires are all jumbled up, when you want to correct a mistake, it now becomes very difficult to find out where it is, So that's what clarity does, right? Clarity gives you pruning rather, gives you a very, very clear vision. Now, pruning hurts because attachment is real. Some of the things that need to be cut once helped you survive. Some of the things that need to be cut, right, Tyla, really, really once helped you survive. It really helped you get through. And at that time, they may have even been instructions from God, but they were for a season, and that season has passed. In fact, some of these things that need to be cut once made sense. Some of them once produced results. That these things that you are pruning are not necessarily bad, they're not necessarily evil, but they are not required or necessary for the season. These are very hard conversations that you need to have, Tyla. Very, very hard conversations. And letting go of them can make you feel like a failure, can make you feel like you've lost, can make you feel like you're starting over. But pruning doesn't mean those things were wrong. They were not wrong. They're just not necessary. So Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 reminds us, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. It means they have served their season, and seasons change. Seasons change, Tyla. Seasons change. Now the truth is that pruning requires restraint. And restraint is maturity. Restraint is saying that I once benefited from you, but you are no longer beneficial to me now, and I'm letting go of you. And the truth is that every time you look at the things that you need to prune, you always remember the benefits that it gave you. Sometimes it could be, some hormonal things in your mind. It can just trigger some hormonal things, some level of excitement, some dopamine, and all of that. But you have to be able to say that you made me feel good at a particular time. You served a purpose for me at a particular time, but now I have to let go of you. And that restraint is a level of maturity. Because those habits, those things will be calling back to you consistently. Every time calling back to you, calling back to you, right? If you're doing maybe like something on your health, and then you know that, oh, taking this thing is particularly unhealthy, but I enjoy it and it's sweet, right? During the times when you pass maybe by it, what will be triggered in you is the sense of satisfaction that you derive from it when you were indulging in it, right? And it would, the brain, the body keeps store of a lot of these memories, right? And so that's what usually gets triggered. But restraint is maturity. In fact, it takes wisdom to say, I could do more, but I won't. I could keep this, but I'll let it go. I could carry this, but it's costing too much. Because growth isn't about expanding everything. It's about strengthening what remains. That's it, about strengthening what remains. So by the time you're done with your whole rebranding process, by the time you have, found out the things that you need to do, the things that you need to work on, the things that you should be involved in, the things that are worthy of your energy, the things that are worthy of your input, by the time you're able to do that, what happens is that you are now beginning to strengthen those particular things. They become better, they become stronger. You're able to give off more excellence into those things, right? And that's why I said it's very important that it's an internal thing that you're doing first. Don't just be so happy about the external, expressions. No, the internal work that happens in you really, really shifts, your mind and your heart. So ask yourself this question. What if the things you're grieving for right now are the very things making room for fruit? So think about it. The things that you're grieving for now, eventually there will be the things that will make room so that more fruit will come in. And I think the fruit is the most important thing. What if the cut wasn't rejection, but redirection? What if you're not being reduced, but refined? Pruning doesn't end in emptiness. It always ends in fruit. But fruit takes time, and time requires trust. So if this season feels smaller, quieter, more intentional, it may not be a setback. It may be the beauty of pruning. It may just be the beauty of pruning. I just want to reiterate one more point. What if the thing you are grieving for right now is the very thing making room for fruit? That God has asked you to let go of something that hurts, but as you're letting go of it, it's now opening the doors for other things to come in. So I ask us this question. What needs to be cut? Not because it's bad, but because it's in the way of what God wants to grow. What needs to be cut? Not because it's bad, but because it's in the way of what God wants to grow. So, I really do hope that this episode blessed you, Tyla. I really do hope it did. And I'm so excited to see what will come out of your life in the coming weeks. Remember that I love you, I believe in you, Tyla, and I'm always rooting for you.